Good day, dear students. effect. In short, electricity are electrons in motion. Electricity is one of the most useful discoveries of man, which paved way to the numerous inventions from the simple transformers in a blank. A. Transmission lines. B. Transmission substation. C. Distribution substation. And D. Distribution lines. Number 4. They are normally made of huge steel towers. A. Transmission lines. B. Transmission substation. C. Distribution substation. And D. Distribution. Thank you and God bless.